forward ever.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Sunrise Daily this lovely Monday morning. I'm Chamberlain. So
it is indeed a beautiful Monday morning, one of those mornings where you've had a shower before. And I mean a shower, I mean like showers of rain. That's what I mean. Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome, Yusuf.
Oh, well, I really do understand.
Okay, let me wait for it. Where is this going?
I'm not even going to surprise you this morning, Chamberlain. Amaya Makede, good morning. Today is May 13, just so you know. Malcolm, don't worry. Keep your gunpowder dry. The rains are coming. But I hope it's going to be good and wonderful for us all. Welcome to the show.
Well, by the time the rain comes, the gunpowder cannot be dry anymore.
You know what I mean?
So what's the point?
Farmers are waiting in anticipation. You know, seeds are frying on the farm and they don't know what's going on. But we hope that they're here sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and also that the Ministry of Agric haven't relaxed or rested on their hours, especially after those attacks of some of those facilities, because, look, you never know. The same way they didn't get a whimper of what was going to happen, it could happen again, because, look, because the reality is that out there, lots of people just waiting. Well, yes, indeed, it is 26, 27 degrees centigrade here in Abuja. Lovely weather. But in Taraba, in Ibi local government area particularly, this has a soothing impact when you look at this scenery. It takes you away from all this political jabs here and there that politicians always take us through. But isn't this what they call therapeutic, guys?
You certainly can say that again, Chamberlain. I do agree with you, staring at this lake called the Nwoyo Lake. And only recently, after about 14 years, we understand that, well, not that we understand, we're actually there. There was a fishing festival, an international fishing festival.
Yeah.
So today, we know that there isn't just one fishing festival in Nigeria. I mean, before now, I think everyone knew of Argungu Fishing Festival happening in Kebbi State. But now, Taraba has decided to rejoin the map of fishing festivals, and this is where it happens. We understand this is the biggest lake in West Africa, the Nwoyo Lake, which links to the river Benue. So, really beautiful sight. I mean, I was privileged to watch that particular festival when it aired live on our station, and it was a real beauty to watch. The ambassador of Namibia was there, by the way, also, you know, marketing some salts from Namibia.
Who can blame them? Do what you have to do.
Do what you have to do. Market whatever it is you have to market.
Yeah.
But it is a really beautiful sight. And you know, it's no surprise looking at where Taraba is located and what it is famous for. It's famous for its undulating hills, rivers, what have you? Taraba is a really beautiful...
You got this Mambila area, which is really lovely.
Who can forget Taraba's tea? You know, the Highland tea. A lot of adverts for Taraba this morning, but hey, why not? And I think nowadays there are flights leading to Taraba. So if you just want to take a visit, go and visit Taraba, now might be a good time to do so.
So, but you know, many are seeing this for the first time who are watching this. Because for a lot of them, all they know is the bad news, this fighting that. That's what lots of people know about this kind of areas. And the same thing for the country. That's what people know. So why can't, because it's not been, if they've been doing it, I mean, many haven't heard. These are the kind of areas that they can equally focus on. Look, this is you could make an industry out of all of these kind of areas.
Tourism, right?
Absolutely. Look at Namibia coming to market salt because they have a mindset of what to expect, what they think should happen in these kind of places. So if we're not on the same wavelength with them, what's wrong with people? Well, Ayo, it's not a bad idea if you decide to take a trip to this place.
Absolutely, Chamberlain.
Not to Jamaica.
Every time
Taraba.
I see a view like this, believe me, movies come to mind. I mean, God, just imagine we set up a movie scene, a movie location here. Build whatever it is that you want to build. I mean, we understand that this young man, or whatever his age is, Tyler Perry, has a movie village somewhere, you know, in the United States of America. I mean, just imagine you build something like this. Can you imagine the kind of things you can recreate here on this, in this particular area? It's a vast land, unbuilt, uncultivated, undeveloped, and yet waiting to be seen by the world. One view like this, and just imagine countless opportunities here. But hey, you know what? What exactly can we say? There's so many opportunities in this nation, and this is just one of several. Well, Chamberlain, you talked about the weather in Abuja. In Taraba right now, the weather is something in the region of 29 degrees centigrade, and it feels like 36.
Okay.
Yeah, so just so you know, yeah.
I'm just wondering why you had to go all the way to the United States to remember Tyler Perry when we have right here in Nigeria, Kunia Folayon, who has a film village somewhere, is it in Osun State or somewhere in Nigeria? I know it's in the southwest of the country. You know, we have local entrepreneurs who perhaps can take the risk.
Absolutely.
And it certainly would not be a bad idea.
I do agree with you, Chamberlain. I beg your pardon, Mark. In fact, back in time, we had such a film village in Ogun State, which was built by Hubert Ogunde at the time. How well that is doing now, I sincerely do wonder. Yes, you are absolutely correct, but how do we maintain those things? Just imagine such a thing being built here. I am not afraid of any form of insecurity so long as we can have this kind of thing here, and we can make sure that Nigeria is able to protect such investments. That's my thought.
Who is the Minister of Tourism anyways? Well, do your job for you now. So I hope with your performance appraisal, you remember some of these things. Fine, so give us a call.
Yeah.
So that we could...
She's the minister from Lagos. Her name is Minister Lola. I think I'm trying to remember her surname.
Okay, so when that call comes, you know that name appears, you know who to pick. So, and how to proceed with some of these ones. Okay, so that said, let's go ahead and take you through... Well, quite a number of things actually will be happening today. I know that, I mean... In case you might have missed it, Labour say that they have had it up to here about electricity tariff. So all of what might have happened notwithstanding, whether or not the NERC has given a fresh directive, Labour says, no, we want to go back to status quo. What is, well, they say status quo, not status quo antebellum, as you say in law court, status quo. So go back to what it was before. So Labour, they're not smiling about all of these things. It will happen today, so we'll hear their argument. In fact, they're already gathering at the moment, so we'll bring you all of those stories as we do get them.
The question is, what is their argument? I think that's the big question, because, I mean, if you are going to argue that, oh, you know, it's going to affect the poor, the question is, how many poor people live under Band A? I mean, it's very classicist. But hey, it is what it is. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it is bad, but it is what it is. Have they been able to do a poll to see, for instance, we know in Abuja that in Maitama, in Asokoro, Guzape, these are the areas that are supposed to be paying Band A electricity. So the question will be, how many people living in those big, mighty houses are members of the NLC? Yeah,
because we expected that for them to have done this. So the questions are, for instance, I think one of the dailies, which we'll get to see much later today, was saying, I think 10 out of 12 days or something like that. Those kind of stats where you monitor.
Exactly.
And it has to be a fact-based approach.
That's what I want to know.
All of these
what
things.
Is the argument?
So, and even though they're saying it's about, what, 15 million, how did they get that figure in the first place? And besides, isn't it discriminatory? If you're saying, even if people told you we will pay if we get them, it doesn't mean you should come up with a discriminatory policy for you to say you are responding to that. No, there are several ways. You're doing that because it suits you above all else. Because if they had done that, what about the service? If you were really thinking about the people, they would have improved on the service. People would have seen the service, and then there would have been no argument. But now, the reverse is the case.
Look, there are many arguments. I've been trembling. Band A electricity bill is not easy to pay. I can tell you that from experience.
But they force it down people's throat to pay, willy-nilly.
To start paying something that has gone up, is it up to, almost more than about 3.5 times?
Yeah.
3.5 times what you used to pay is a lot. The fraud that is there is that the next band, if you say, okay, band B, for instance, where you're supposed to get 16 to 19 hours and you're supposed to pay, is it 75 naira? You will most likely be on band F, or you'll be bandless, as the case might be, because you will certainly not get up to 16 hours. That I can tell you also from experience. So there is a certain amount of fraud. It might not be the intention of AEDC or the distribution companies to make it like that, but it is what it is, in that system. So Labour might have an argument, but it'll be very interesting to have a dispassionate look at both arguments and let us see. But what the distribution companies are saying is that right now they do know that there are areas where they are getting a lot of electricity, and those people should be able to pay for the electricity that they are getting.
Okay, so let's see. What are the dailies saying today, guys?
Let's begin a look at the papers this morning with the Guardian newspaper leading with energy prices soar by 70%, cost manufacturers 290 billion naira in Q1. Some details you'll find right there comparing Q4 2023 with Q1 2024 this morning. Details on page 6. The Vanguard newspaper is talking about manufacturing exports. Says manufacturing export limps as revenue drops 166% to 778 billion naira. What does that mean? The details you'll find on page 19. But look at the riders. World Bank blames poor logistics, weak infrastructure. Man exporters seek government intervention. National single window will bring relief. That's according to CPPE. Are you as assured? Well, check the details on page 19. Blueprint newspaper, FG mulls 95% tax exemption for informal sector. Wow. Is that a good thing or a good thing? Well, look at the riders. Aims to repeal multiple taxes, achieve single digits. Targets middle class elite to improve collection and efficiency. Find the details continue on the inside pages. The Daily Times newspaper says FG working to provide tax relief to 95% of informal sector. That's according to Mr. Oyedele, who is the chairman of that presidential committee. Says plan to be achieved through exemption of businesses earning 25 million naira a year or less from various taxes. Tinubu government not out to frustrate any sector of the economy, says VP Shetima. Daily Trust newspaper leads with this one. Tenants groan as Abuja landlords increase rent. Property owners blame high cost of building materials. Developer seeks signing of real estate bill. Look at the Nigerian News Direct. 136 Nigerians, Serap, others file suit to hold implementation of cybersecurity levy. That story is on page 21 of the Nigerian News Direct this morning. Daily Independent leads with Lagos airport incidents. Aviation experts query runway re-rubberization maintenance system. Incidents not connected to runway maintenance, according to FAN. That's the only rider to the story. The Abuja Inquirer leads with 10 times in 12 days. AEDC failed to provide power. Wow, blames technical faults, inclement weather. Residents slam company, wants new owners. The Nigerian Observer leads with this one. Nigerians win as FG bows to pressure, suspends cybersecurity levy. Experts say government needs wider consultation on policies as Serap budget others head to court. Check the details on the inside pages. Business Day, weak naira, rising inflation signal further rate hike. That's the big story of the paper this morning. New Telegraph is on the Rivers crisis, initiating impeachment proceedings against Fubara risky. That's according to Sage. And look at the riders. Tinubu won't support attempts to frustrate Rivers government's operations. That's on page 3. Right under the picture on the front page, cybersecurity levy, Agbakoba, Serap budget others sue FG National Assembly, CBN. The Nigerian Tribune is also talking about the tax relief. FG planning tax relief for 95% of small businesses. That's according to the Tax Reforms Committee chairman. Details on page 4. That's the much of the papers we can take today, which is your own pick.
Okay, so looking through some of these dailies that are saying FG planning 95% tax relief for small businesses, Tribune and several others highlight that particular story this morning. You know, it just it raises a lot of questions, because here he says that we think that companies, that's his impression, that's what he was quoted to have said. So I guess we'll wait and see when this comes to fruition. But there are questions as to the last time we spoke to him, which has been a while anyways, he did say that, yes, they have some preliminary details and documents which they have submitted to the president. They were supposed to then get some action some of those issues that have been raised, but it hadn't happened. And before we knew what was going on, the 0.5% levy narrative came through and several other things. So that gave the impression as though, were they really on the same page? Is this really harmonized? Because you'd have thought that above all else, this should be top on the agenda if any tax matter of any sort whatsoever was going to come up. This is what they should have leveraged and said, look, we're looking at this. This is what we plan to do. Rather than just come up with that one and then they suspended it. I think the easy was suspend, not completely
suspend.
It means it's going to come up much later.
Certainly. But, you know, interestingly, the Taiwo Oyedele-led committee also, released a statement when the 0.5% cybersecurity levy was about to be implemented. They did say that, look, they're just saying this. They're going to take it on board.
Why does
and then
they'll see,
they'll see just what's happening. And sometimes, I think government forgets that they need to work together, and maybe, people are still working in silos, or maybe they didn't think that this could affect anything.
Government set up an economic committee, multi-layered team to look at all these issues to ensure they harmonize it and make it easy for businesses to thrive. But we're not seeing those results. As of yet, we're not.
Well, we'll pose the question to government. What happened? That's why we're here, to pose the questions. But, I mean, it is interesting to see this is coming out. The question is, why is it coming out when they haven't exactly finalized it? Anyway.
And is government going to talk to us about subsidy? Is it there or not? What about all those narratives we hear?
It's a very, very thorny, thorny issue. Now, I think that, first, anyone who is going to want to talk about that, we want to hear from the person who should actually talk about it is the president, because he's the one who said subsidy is gone. Mr. President, from what we know subsidy is not gone. So is it possible for you to address it? Because somehow all your lieutenants will say they cannot talk about it, without contradicting what it is that the president has said. So everybody's avoiding the topic.
So now you tell me, if you look at all these scenarios, as an investor, you're looking to invest, would you plunge? Would you put your stake, your money, would you stake your funds when you see all these uncertainties and things like that?
It's a real big issue, because even over the weekend, we also saw something from the MD of Okomo Oils?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, who was talking about how some of the members of staff were attacked on the farm, and I think, I'm not very certain if that attack, resulted in fatalities, as if people lost their lives, but for them, that was one attack too many, and they're complaining bitterly about it, how they pay huge amounts in taxes and somehow are still not guaranteed security. They still have to invest in securing their own farm. So I think that is something that demands a high-level meeting. When an investor who is already here is complaining about, because they are the biggest advertisements. If any new investor is going to come into the country and look in the areas that we're asking them to look, agriculture, etc., they will want to speak with those who are already here.
Absolutely.
If those ones have nothing positive to say, or if they're complaining bitterly about a host of things, you know, that certainly is not going to be marketing the country very well. So when an investor who is already on the ground here, you know, starts to make complaints about certain things, it must be treated with utmost priority. I think that's how, you know, people get to know that, okay, this government is serious. That while we're looking for more, those who are on the ground here are also treated, you know, and they don't have to be international investors.
No.
Yes, international investors can be, of course, treated well. After all, we're going around the world to go and get them. But even those who are here, you know, must also be, I mean, when I mean here, they don't have to be, they could be Nigerians as well. As long as they're putting their money, trying to create jobs, trying to ensure that, you know, the economy moves in many ways. They're not just keeping their money in the bank or keeping it somewhere, keeping it offshore. People can do that. It's their money. As much as possible, those kinds of complaints shouldn't be taken lightly. Ayo.
Well, thank you, Marfo. Well, my take this morning is actually on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, right above the nameplate, where the power sector crisis won't end soon by Joe Ajero, the NLC president. What makes it troubling for me is the lead story of the Vanguard newspaper talking about manufacturing export limping. It also brings to mind, by the way, what we're talking about this morning on Business News on Sunrise Daily, Business Morning, on Sunrise Daily, potentials of lithium in Nasarawa State. Not too long ago, the president also took that trip and hosted some people in Abuja on his return about investing in lithium in this country and talking about the huge opportunities that will come with. Well, are we going to leave? Are we going to need power or not for these investors? Will they have reason to want to leave the country simply because they have a high cost of doing business in the country? I think it is something to be given much attention to. Well, it's a Monday morning, and for football lovers, this one is for you. Mr. and Mrs. Mrs. is arguing with Mr. You can't seize Junior's pocket money because the club he supports trashed yours by 5 goals to nothing. And Mr. responds, okay, tell him to wipe the smirk off his face whenever he sees me. That's Mr. and Mrs. this morning, and that's my take, guys.
Come on, mister. Where's the spirit of sportsmanship? You have to have it all the time. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some.
Everybody will exercise their power, you know, where they have it. That reminds me, I came across a joke over the weekend about how somebody was saying over Harry and Meghan's visit to Nigeria. Someone was saying, oh, my mother loves these people, you know, she prays for them, she wishes them well every morning, they're in her prayers. And the son was saying, oh, but nobody knows you, Mom. They don't even know you. Why are you praying for them? And the mother retorted and said, who knows you at Arsenal? Everybody pick your club, who you want to pray for. It doesn't matter whether they know you or not.
Shots fired there, I tell you. Oh, well. Okay, so there you go. Well, back in the moment here, so stay on with us.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it. Because that tasty grilled chicken is here, and that key ingredient just in time. Order Global, and we'll deliver in minutes.
Do you know that you can now print all your essential items for events without even having to leave your home? It's the Cash Print Combo Deal for all events.
Yes!
Weddings, conferences, birthdays, burials, etc. Starting from 495,000 Naira only. You get 50 invites, 50 A2 size posters, 50 16-page brochures, 1 large backdrop banner, 1 roll-up banner, 50 jotters with pens, and 50 souvenir carrier bags. Whatever event you're planning, we can adjust to your budget and quantities. Just send your pictures and other information through WhatsApp, and we shall send a design for your approval. Approve your design, and we will produce with super high-quality digital print technology. We can even arrange delivery to your location. Call us now on 0913-156-5016 or 0812-794-9323 or visit our social media pages. Cash Prints, digital printing at super speed.
New beginnings are always colorful.
When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux Color Center to get any color instantly. Dulux, let's color.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it. Because when the grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. And that key ingredient just in time. Receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Order a Global and track it till you receive it in minutes.
Okoye University presents the 5th Memorial Lecture of Justice Anthony Aniagolo. Theme: The Judiciary and the Future of Nigeria. Date: Tuesday, 14th of May, 2024. Time: 11 a.m. prompt. Venue: Dr. Peter Mba Auditorium, Godfrey Okoye University, Thinkers Corner, Enugu. Host: Reverend Professor Christian Anieke, Vice Chancellor, Godfrey Okoye University. Guest speaker: His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State and former presidential candidate, Labour Party. Father of the Day: Most Reverend Dr. Callistus Valentine Onaga, Catholic Bishop of Enugu Diocese. You're all invited.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it. Because that tasty grilled chicken is here, and that key ingredient just in time. Order Global, and we'll deliver in minutes.
The future belongs to the dreamers, to the doers, to those who are not afraid of the side hustle. It's for those who are ready to turn their passion into something big. And to help keep you revitalized and inspired, Top Tea is with you every step of the way. You are made for more. Find your inspiration. Top Tea, big round bags of flavor.
The thing about the CNG initiative, the Presidential Initiative on Compressed National Gas, is that it has taken time. We've all gone around and we have seen that these are not purchases of finished goods or finished products. It is assembly. So at the same time as helping the inflationary effect, reducing the price of fare, well, at the end of the day, reducing transport costs to the average Nigerian. As well as that, it's also helping to grow the economy. So it's two critical aims are being achieved. And what is important is that I've come to see what is happening with the CNG initiative. Where are the buses, as Nigerians are asking? And I've seen for myself, I've driven them, I've tested them, and I've seen them being assembled. And of course, in the very near future, they'll begin to be rolled out, and the benefit will be available to all Nigerians.
Okay, welcome back. Yes, indeed, that is what we're talking about this morning. As you might have seen in that welcoming slide, we've got Joseph Osanipin here with us. He is the Director General, National Automotive Development and Design Council, NADDC. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning, Simbaland. Good morning.
Okay, so tell us, what is the latest about this CNG initiative?
Yeah, the CNG initiative, as you are aware, is the presidential initiative on CNG, and to ease, apart from creating employment, is to ease the transport, reduce the transport fare. Again, where we are now is about to roll out the CNG vehicles. The presidential initiatives are working with some local manufacturer or local assembler of vehicles to make sure that we convert or produce or assemble some buses, especially the government starting with commercial buses, because that's where the impact will be most first. So we are going to roll out the commercial vehicle soon. So you can see in that clip that the Minister for Finance already inspected some of the facility where these vehicles are being converted or being assembled.
So which one exactly is it? Is it convert, produce, or assemble? Because SKD and CKD are two different things.
Two different things. So just as you said, they are assembled, SKD. Most of the facilities we have in Nigeria are SKD facilities. So we assemble in Nigeria.
So what we're doing is that this is going to cost us about, is it 100, is it billion or million to import?
Yeah.
How many units?
So I cannot give the specific units now that they are going to roll out. That is going to be rolled out in the next few weeks. But I know the program is to make sure that government provide or support in rolling out about 55,000, which will be buses.
In the first instance or what?
Yes, within the period of about the first instance. And it's going to comprise of buses, passenger cars, tricycles, and some conversion kits.
So this is, how much is this going to cost anyways?
Yes, for a bus, it costs between 2 to 2.8 million to convert.
So in total, how much are we spending as a country?
Oh, as a country, no, we cannot say this is what the country is going to spend in total, because it's going to be gradual. So as you are producing, you are spending. And what government is going to do with presidential initiative on CNG is the government is providing the seed fund, just the seed fund to start and stimulate the production. So along the line, you can see that a lot of private investors are already going into conversion. So it's not the government spending money for them. As I'm talking to you now, we are about to put together a program where we are bringing in the stakeholders. We are going to roll out the minimum requirement that a workshop have to have in order to be accredited as a conversion center. And by the time this is done, it's private investors that are going to drive this process more. Government is only starting and kickstarting it.
Even though we see figures government put, I think they put about 100 billion.
About that, yes.
So how come say we can't put a figure to it?
So no, why I said we can't pick, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. So, and I say it's seed fund from the government, which is to kickstart the whole process.
When you speak about investors benefiting, I know you have heard several people also say, look, this clearly goes against the National Automotive Industry Development Plan, which they say we had in 2023, and that government is working across purposes. And as a matter of fact, bringing in CKD, we're importing this already finished product then to assemble them here. And they think, the industry, some stakeholders, that this is not what the plan was. And government is going against that plan.
Okay, the plan you are referring to is the automotive plan. That's
for 2023.
For 2023. And as of today, my agency is the one as the secretariat or implementing that policy. So when we are looking at that, the policy states have two sections, the first 5 years and the next 5 years. The first 5 years, we are going to develop the SKD facility. And then, after the 5 years, we move to CKD. So that's what we are doing. Presently, we are in the SKD mode, or let me say SKD level, because we need, for us to move from SKD to CKD, we need to produce a lot of components locally. And that's why you could see from what I've been, my engagement in the last few months is focusing on promoting or developing the component part production in Nigeria, because we need to start producing all these components. Then it is after we have all these components, we can now go, we talk about steel, we talk about leather, we talk about plastic, we talk about a lot of painting, and then we can now move from SKD to CKD. As it is now, we are on SKD. And that's what everybody, most of the people in the industry is doing.
Several of them too have argued, which I'm sure you must have heard, that we actually could do some of these things. In fact, that we're already going way ahead, because they say the the Pans of this world, the Volkswagen in this country, the IVMs in this country, were all in fact, 5 years ago, they were already involved in this process. So why do we then have to go all over as though relegating all of these ones to the background and coming up with a fresh one?
No, we are not relegating anyone to the background. All the development in the industries, all these people you mentioned are part of the development.
But they're not the ones that got the contracts.
We engage them.
Why are they complaining about the bid process?
I may not be able to speak about the bid process here.
Was there any bid process in the first place? Is there anything to speak about?
Certainly, there was bid process. The bid process went through, and then went through the bid process, and the process was concluded. Then the award took place. But I will not be able to speak more about the bid process because I was not part of the bid process. My own is to make sure that we regulate the industry and make sure that the industry grows. And that's why we'll be engaging all the participants and the player in the industry. And as I said earlier, for the industry to grow to where we want it to grow, we must first of all focus on development of the component part in Nigeria, because we have the ability and we have the capacity to do that. And since we have the capacity to do that, that is where the economy grows. That's where the multiplier effect is. That is where the employment is. That is where we can really stimulate the economy through the production of the component part. And by the time
are we producing any component? We're importing them and assembling them. What are we producing?
That's why we need to grow it. That's why we are focusing more. And that's what's going to happen in the next few years, focusing more in the production of the component part. I will give you, for example, we can produce tire in Nigeria, and we are working with some that we start producing tire. We can produce battery. We have about 2 companies working on that. We can produce all the seats, the foam, the leather, and we can produce that.
Is it that we can produce or we are producing? Which one?
Yeah, that's when I say we can produce, most of them have been produced already. But what I'm working now, because if you listen to about a month ago, the minister mentioned something about signing MOU with the assembler as well as the component parts manufacturer, so that we make sure that when these products are produced by us, when I mean us, Nigeria, we make sure that these assemblers, because some of these assemblers have MOU with foreign company, we say when we are supplying you, we are supplying you the complete kit. So part of that, we are going to say, this is Nigeria. It's not going to happen. We immediately can produce this, especially foam. For example, we produce tire, we produce leather. We have to use our own and still also we have to use our own product to produce the vehicle or produce the tricycle we are going to use in Nigeria.
Let me take you up on the issue of CNG, because part of what it is that you're doing is conversion and incorporating. Conversion. Yes. So I'm just wondering if you're building the vehicle from scratch, and that is the design of the vehicle to use CNG. There's no need for conversion there, is there?
Yes.
Conversion will be the ones that are already using diesel or something else, right?
Oh, yes.
And then converting them to CNG.
Exactly.
That's where conversion comes in.
That's where conversion comes in.
Okay, so if you're building it from scratch and you're incorporating CNG, what do you call that one?
No, that one is fully, it's not conversion really. That one comes already as hybrid, because most of the CNG, they are hybrid, or we call them biofuel. Why is that? Because they still use the PMS or the AGO, which is diesel, as well as the CNG. So that one are built directly, like those one being assembled now in Nigeria are directly built for CNG.
Okay, so I'm wondering, we noticed that a few state governments, for instance, Ogun state government, brought some buses into their own market, into their own space there to help ease transportation. Those buses were not from you, were they?
No.
Have you started supplying anybody yet?
No, we NADDC will not supply anybody. So that's why I said most of the vehicle being as part of the program initiative are given to Nigerians to assemble here in Nigeria and supply. So NADDC as an agency of government are not involved in direct supply of vehicles.
Oh, okay. So you just have a few people. You have, people who are involved in the program.
Yes.
You're not aware that any of the people who are involved in the program have started supplying?
No, but they are producing. That's
assembly.
They are assembling. Sorry, they are assembling.
They are assembling. Okay. So, are you able to keep an eye on what is happening either with their conversion or their incorporating CNG into these systems?
Yes, we've visited some of them, and then in 2 days' time we are going to have another stakeholder meeting on the kits, because if you look at conversion process or installation of CNG process, you have to follow you can't compromise anything. Start with the kits, the cylinder. The cylinder have to be ISO standard, and SON pick their own standard also, because they have to domesticate that standard also. So we have to follow that standard all through everything. For example, you take cylinder, you have to look at the material test, you have to look at type, you have to look at a lot of things in that cylinder to make it work. So where all these things work together for you to get ISO certification. And if there is any change in your facility, if there is any change in quantity you produce, if there is any change in material, that standard is already invalid. You have to go through that process again, because safety is priority here.
I'm glad that you highlight the fact that safety is priority, because only a few weeks, about 2 weeks ago, there was an accident that occurred in Ogun State involving a truck which was carrying some gas canisters, a very big truck. The truck itself was actually running on CNG, and I understand that the Minister of State for Petroleum actually paid a visit to the state, because that was a matter of concern. That explosion that happened, I can't remember the road now, but it affected people around the road. But what they found was that the gas canisters which the truck was carrying, was transporting gas, were intact. But the CNG canisters, which was powering the truck itself, it does appear that 1 or 2 of them were damaged. So it appears that the explosion came from those CNG canisters. Is it an incident you're aware of?
Yes, it's an incident we are aware of. Yes, and that's part of what we are working on these new ones. Because before now, the standard was not available. But as I'm talking to you now...
Before now, the standards were not available?
No, not when I say not available, but what I mean by the standard not available then is, before now, before federal government come up with this CNG program, some vehicles were running on CNG before then. And because they were running on CNG before then, they were not part of this new initiative. But what we have done so far now is to ensure that all the necessary things, all the necessary process are followed in the conversion process. Because if you look at that one was converted. So we want to make sure that most of the conversion process are stick it to, because we are now going to come out with accreditation of conversion centers. So any center that is not accredited by our agency will not be allowed to convert here in Nigeria. So we want to make sure that these processes are followed. And in doing that, we work with a lot of agencies. For example, we're working with SON to come out with the standard. Because SON has released the standard about 2-3 months ago for conversion processes. So NADDC has to make sure that we are going to accredit them. Not only are we going to accredit, even the personnel, we are going to make sure that the personnel that are going to work on the conversion are certified. And then we are going to we have a sector skill council that are going to train these people. We are going to work with NAITT, we are going to work with MBTE to make sure that the true certification is done. And after that, we ensure strict compliance. So because safety, as I said, is key. And until we ensure all these processes are full and then comply with, then is when we are going to issue certification. And then we are going to work with NMDP, that is Nigerian mid and downstream, because they are going to be the one regulating the movement of gas from one point to the other. So we work with all these agencies.
You just said something, that conversion was already happening before the federal government came up with this, and they might not have complied with the current standards that SON has set. Is there a way to, because when any of these accidents happen, it's going to affect whether people want to, consider conversion or not, or whether they'll be apprehensive whenever it is that they see a bus you know, seeing CNG on it, especially since you're looking at mass transportation. So are you looking for a way to, at least if it's not on your mandate, to cars already done you know, conversion before now, might need to double check their own canisters just to be sure that, you know, safety is a priority, and, you know, if they have standards, if their canisters are not standard canisters, so to speak, maybe they can be upgraded.
Thank you. It's within our mandate.
It's within your mandate.
And what we are doing concerning that now is we are working with the gas, that is Nigeria mainstream and downstream regulatory agency.
NMDPRA.
We are going to make sure, because that's what we are putting together through the Presidential Initiative. What we are putting together is NGVMS, that's Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System. By the time we put it together, it's going to be connected to various agencies that has to play a role in this gas CNG process. So by the time we put all these things together, we are going to release that soon. By the time we put it together, you cannot even buy gas if you don't comply with the standard. Nobody is going to sell gas to you. So we are going to label vehicle based on the conversion process. And in converting, you are going to use the right kits. If you don't use the right kits, you cannot move on to the vehicle, to filling station to buy your gas. And it is when you have been certified by NADDC, by SON, by NDPMRA, then road safety also will be involved, because they are going to monitor compliance on the road. So all these systems are going to be put together by Presidential Initiative.
I hope they're going to be in one place, not that somebody will have to go here, then go there.
No, one place. A system. That's why I call it Nigerian Gas Vehicle Monitoring System. Well, that system is a software that's going to power the whole thing.
These concerns are very genuine, because in India, in fact, in Los Angeles in February, there was this truck, this clean air CNG power truck containing 200 gallons of CNG, pressure to 3,000 PSI. The reports that exploded after they followed through all their processes. So this, not one, several in different cities there. So these are concerns that we have here, and how people will handle them, because, look, we know how regulation can be, and sometimes they look the other way. So we're hoping that some of these things will be really adhered to.
Certainly.
To see how they can, because even after they adhere to all their processes, you still have those explosions. So how much more are we bringing them in here? We need to be sure. But let's go to Ayo. He's got questions for you as well.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I think that's the way I would like to begin, Mr. Osanipin. It's good to see you again. You talked about those standards. Now, you've spoken to the conversion side. You've spoken to the shops, which the federal government says they're going to have about 100 in 18 states at the first instance. The first question that I would want to find out is, the level of awareness seems rather low so far. All we hear is, this is going to happen. But seeing the incidents that Malkwe raised, which my Chamberlain just corroborated, it sends chills down people's spines. So perhaps there is a need for some kind of awareness from your agency and every other relevant stakeholder among government to pass on the information to people, because a good number of them may not be watching this program. What's the plan to give people the necessary information about this CNG initiative of the federal government?
Okay, what we have been doing mostly now is engagement of the stakeholders, because this is the foundation-laying process. So it is when we lay those foundation with the stakeholders, then we go out. We know that we are ready to move ahead, and then we go out with the sensitization. The sensitization is going to begin this week or next week about conversion process, about what you need to do your conversion, the conversion process, and then the use of how to fill the CNG, or how to transport the CNG. So all this one we are going to start rolling out those very soon.
Well, Mr. Osanipin, one of the things that you have also said, yes, one of the things that you've also said is that you're coming up with some kind of national occupational standards. for the conversion and maintenance of electric vehicles and CNG vehicles in the country. We understand from one of the spokesperson of the president that something in the region of $50 million is being invested by private sector operators into that space in this country. Now, where the issue comes up is that of the enabling environment for them to invest, recoup their investment, and make some profit. Where we find a situation, where we find such a situation where these people are not able to recoup their resources as and when due, the challenge then would be what happens. This is where what Chamberlain raised, Amalkwa raised, could be where people may now be compromising standards, dropping the quality of their services just to make a little buck. How do you monitor these standards, especially since you have so many states and so many conversion centers across the country?
Okay, for the National Occupational Standard, the National Occupational Standard is out. We've done the validation process, and then all the relevant stakeholders were involved. And so the National Occupational Standard concerning the CNG, concerning EVs are out for that. So again, we said the accreditation process is going to take not only the facility, but also the personnel involved in the conversion. The personnel involved have to be taken through the National Occupational Standard and then issue certificates. So there's going to be certification for that process. So what we are doing is, by the time we accredit you, we are not only accrediting your facility, we are accrediting the personnel involved in the conversion. So if you don't have the minimum required personnel, we are not going to accredit you. And the people we accredit, that's the personnel, will also be held liable if they fail to do what they are doing, just as the facility is going to be held liable also. So concerning what you raised concerning the investment, we know what it takes to convert a vehicle. If you do your mathematics well, that is the investor. If they do their mathematics well, they will know this is what it will cost, and this is our margin. If you put the margin there, certainly they are going to make what I call economic profit. So if that is done, I don't see why anybody will want to cut corner. And anyway, if you cut corner, what we are going to do, you are off immediately. Your accreditation is going to be withdrawn immediately.
I guess one of the issues...
There's no way...
Yeah, I guess one of the issues around that will be in the area of monitoring, which we hope you will also bring to us shortly. Just one last question from me here. Not too long ago, you told us, through some other means, that there are just about 6% vehicle ownership in Nigeria as of 2018. Can you confirm that? And is there anything that needs to be done to change or to upscale that number? Is that the global best practice?
Yes, we need to upscale that number, because you talk about a country like South Africa, they're already on 17-18% vehicle ownership. So we also can upscale that. And for us to upscale that, that's what we are working toward. We have to start assembling, manufacturing our own vehicle here. We need to start producing what we are consuming. And by doing that, we'll be able to bring down the price. And for us to be able to do that also, just as I mentioned to Timberland, we have to ensure that a lot of the components used in making that vehicle are produced here in Nigeria. And we are already engaging those involved in local content, that is production of local components. So immediately, as we are growing the percentage of the local component, we'll be able to reduce the cost of vehicle. And then one other thing that the current government is doing to improve that is credit scheme. The Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment has released some government credit initiative concerning that, especially credit scheme. So when this credit scheme is in operation, and most of the countries that have higher vehicle ownership rates, they achieve that because they don't use their money, they don't buy vehicle 100% cash down. But in Nigeria, we are still doing that. By the time we start with credit scheme, and the credit scheme is fully operational, Nigeria will be able to buy vehicle even when they have 20% of the price. With the 20%, you'll be able to buy and then be paying back. So when the credit scheme is running well, we'll be able to increase that percentage.
Any idea when that will be?
Yeah, the credit scheme, I know part of it has been released, and I know government is still working on doing more in that respect. Okay,
this CNG business is something that really needs to be strictly adhered to, because the explosion rate is there. When exposed to heat, if any slight adjustment there, you could be dealing with something larger. What about the fueling points? Yeah, how is it? Because you also have to refuel more frequently than petrol if you're using CNG, because it has low density.
That's what I said. As at today, we have a center in Obajana and then in Ajaokuta, and then we have in southern parts of Nigeria. The NMDPR, they are the one regulating gas, and as I said, they regulate not only the transportation of the gas, the dispensing of the gas, the storage of the gas, all this one have to be regulated. So based on we are working with them, and all of us work together as one, as let's say all the agencies come together and work in unison to ensure that this thing is done and done properly.
Mr. Joseph Osanipin is Director General, National Automotive Development and Design Council, NADDC. Thank you for coming on. All the best to you.
Thank you.
All right, we will be back in a moment, but don't forget that on the hour will be Business Morning on Sunrise Daily.
Africa Leadership Conference. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, Professor Bennett. With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it. Because when the grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. And that key ingredient just in time. Receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Order a Global and track it till you receive it in minutes.
The Engineering Express, in collaboration with the National Youth Service Corps NYC, cordially invites all stakeholders in engineering education and sustainable practice to the training of corps members themed Top Skills for Safe, Innovative, Entrepreneurial and Sustainable Development in Nigeria. As part of the objectives, the trainees will become competent in relevant engineering and project management skills in the era of AI and digital technologies. Program starts at NYC Orientation Camps and Engineering Express app on May 13th, 2024. To register, go to the website at www.engineeringexpress.org or download Engineering Express app from your Android or Apple store and follow the simple prompt. You can then enroll to participate in the training of your choice. This event is facilitated by the Engineering Express team, a coalition of the Council of Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria, Korean, Nigerian Society of Engineers, NSE, Association of Professional Women Engineers of Nigeria, APWEN, and University of Nigeria UNN Faculty of Engineering, signed by Engineer Uzo Onya, announcer.
To thrive in this era of heightened geopolitical risks requires strategic leadership. Thus, to optimize your decision-making quotient and conceptual credentials, Texam invites senior executives to her upcoming program, Strategic Leadership Unleashed, Thriving in an Uncertain Global World. Join world-renowned professors Rodri Laline, Paul Griffith, and John Peters in the UK, who will adopt Texam's tested and proven methodology, which makes learning fun while enhancing your leadership prowess. Date 27 to 30 May. Secure your spot and enjoy a 1.8 million naira discount if you apply before May 10th. Don't just navigate uncertainty, thrive in it. For more information, call +44 7425 883 791 or email exec@texam.co.uk. Texam, insights that inspire, actions that change the world.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it. Because that tasty grilled chicken is here, and that key ingredient just in time. Order a Global, and we'll deliver in minutes.
Good morning. Welcome to a fresh week. We have 5 days to do business once again, and we are starting it off here, Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. I'm Ini John Bekwa. We normally would start from the global space before we head home. So we tell you about oil prices. It extended losses on Monday because of signs of weak fuel demand and comments from the United States Federal Reserve officials that dampened hopes of interest rate cuts, which could slow growth and crimp fuel demand in the world's biggest economy, that's the United States. When we look at the numbers, we see that cut in a 0.3% color in red, and that's a down from $83 that we closed with on Friday to $82.54 a barrel. That's for Brent. WTI of the United States is 0.2% down, $78.07 a barrel. And both benchmarks settled about $1 lower on Friday as Fed officials debated whether the United States interest rates are high enough to bring inflation back to 2%, offsetting gains earlier in the week. Refiners globally are struggling with slumping profits for diesel as new refineries boost supplies, as well as the mild weather in Northern Hemisphere and slow economic activity. They both meet and hit demand, and that, of course, will reduce demand for oil. So the markets remain supported by expectations that the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, as OPEC Plus, could extend supply cuts. That could boost and change this color into green if there's, that threat to supply. Iraq, which is the second largest OPEC producer, is committed to voluntary oil production cuts agreed by OPEC Plus and is keen to cooperate with member countries on efforts to achieve more stability in global oil markets. And its oil minister did confirm this yesterday, Sunday. And then we come home to look at the Naira. It's still a negative sentiment around the Naira. Seems a lot has not been done about supply of FX into the market. So we see that continuous depreciation. This is Friday's close. So this is the opening for today, Monday. The Naira closed at 1,466 Naira, 31 kobo on NAFEM. That's the most traded market. It opened on Friday morning at 1,459 Naira, 73 kobo. For NAFEX, which follows this but not active as NAFEM, we saw it close at 1,455 Naira, 51 kobo after it lost more than 2% on NAFEX. Unfortunately, it does seem there's an anticipation of intervention from the central bank. That might change the number, but from experience, we've seen that that does not keep the number in the positive light. It's only for a short while. So we still have to deal with the root of the problem when it comes to the value of Naira in the country. And from there we go, still staying with central bank commercial lending to governments from the central bank. Data from the central bank shows that it dropped a whole lot, 73.18% to 19.59 trillion Naira in March. And it's coming all the way from 33.93 trillion Naira in the previous month. Government credit stood at 23.52 trillion Naira in January. Financial analysts have attributed this to a rekindled interest in the fixed income market in March. We always tell you about activities in the fixed income market on our business programs. The Debt Management Office revealed that the federal government gathered a total of about 11 trillion Naira from auctions, treasury bills, saving bonds in 4 months. While yields on federal government securities are on the increase, meaning that the government will have to pay more to settle investors, but it's still deemed cheaper than borrowing from banks. So that's the reason for that reduction in borrowings from commercial bank lending to the government. Well, it should be a good thing since it's going to reduce the pressure of debt servicing on the government at the end of the day. Now, last week, there was that big news. A lithium processing plant was commissioned in Nasarawa State with an average capacity to produce about 4,000 metric tons daily in Nasarawa State. A lot of jobs being promised. This is one solid mineral that have been lying wasting for many years in this country. Let's take a look at that report, and then we'll delve into how the production will affect the economy of Nasarawa State and then the country.
A significant milestone in Nigeria's mining sector is recorded as stakeholders gather for the commissioning of Nigeria's first lithium processing plant located in Nasarawa local government area of Nasarawa State, north-central Nigeria. President Bola Tinubu is represented by the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio. He joins the host governor, Abdullahi Sule, Governor Usman Ododo of Kogi State, Minister of Solid Minerals Development, and other stakeholders for the launch of the $100 million plant.
The Senate President of Nigeria.
The Senate President wants the young populace to embrace the application of technology and new initiatives in the mineral sector, especially in lithium battery processing, to propel economic growth and to position the country as a leader in the global clean energy revolution.
For the first time in the history of our technology, we are becoming partners and partakers in the production value chain of this mineral. It is a historic leap because we now have opportunities to know how it is done to ourselves on our own and hone the skills.
As Governor Abdullahi Sule appreciates the federal government and stakeholders for supporting the government to open the state to investors in the mining sector, he calls for local participation.
I am still calling on Nigerians, especially those from Nasarawa State, who can afford, to be able to invest in the mining industry, to please start.
Working to actualize the renewed hope vision in the mining sector, the Solid Minerals Development Minister highlights a 7-point transformation agenda with value addition standing very critical for the ministry to pursue.
May I draw your attention to one of the items on our 7-point agenda, which has resonated beyond the shores of Nigeria, and that is the local value addition policy, which we adopted in the Ministry of Solid Minerals.
Though a maiden edifice in Nigeria, there is plan for expansion as the second phase of the project, which will provide about 4,000 jobs, is underway. The Senate President, flanked by Governor Abdullahi Sule and other stakeholders, commissioned the plant. The lithium processing plant has a 4,000 metric tons daily capacity and 1 million annually. This groundbreaking achievement paves the way for the nation's emergence as a key player in the global lithium market, with Nasarawa State living to its name as Nigeria's home of solid minerals. Halima Agayam, Channel Television News.
That's it. It's a celebrated one. Should be celebrated, obviously, but should be celebrated more when we see the fruits of it. Well, we have to tell us more about that and what to expect. Should I call him the Chief Executive Officer of Nasarawa State? The Governor of Nasarawa State, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, joins us virtually from Lafia. Good morning, Governor, and thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning so much. I'm happy that you are having me here this morning.
Great. So I guess the very good thing to say at this point would be congratulations on achieving this feat. I know there was a groundbreaking of this last year, and now, before the middle of the year, we see that it's being commissioned. And expectations are really high, Engineer Sule, and I hope we won't have to wait for too long to see some of those promised fruits from that plant that has now been commissioned.
Yeah, thank you very much. Congratulations in order, but actually it's a congratulations to a lot of other stakeholders. First and foremost, congratulations to Mr. President, because the federal government now gave us some level of participation. In the past, and I'm saying actually not too long ago, we have had a Ministry of Solid Minerals that will just allocate licenses for minerals prospecting and mining without the participation of the state government. But in Nasarawa State, we decided to come up with an executive order where we say we will not actually frown at any license given to anybody, but we are encouraging those who have license to be able to process whatever it is that they are mining in Nasarawa State. This was about 2 years ago. And I'm happy today that we are beginning to see what is going on. The reason why there is a lot of publication and then so much known about this particular one is because of the size of the factory, which is 4,000 metric tons a day. But in reality, I have already commissioned one in Rogua, which is in the Karu local government, that is already 400 metric tons. There is also another one, in Uke area, which is 1,500 metric tons. So far we have 3 that are working in Nasarawa state as I'm talking to you. And we already have another one, that is purely looking at cobalt and is working also in that area. But all these are much smaller ones. The reason why this one is much is because of the fact that it is a huge size. 4,000 is over 1 million tons a year. And that is the reason why we are seeing this. But yes, you are right. There are a lot of other expectations for us to be able to get there. One is the employment of people. 2, what kind of revenue we are getting from there. Now, let me tell you another benefit we have had from this particular side that a lot of people so far have not realized. When they used to take the sound away, they didn't know exactly what minerals were there. When this factory started, the name of the factory was Landmass Lithium Mining Company. That was the name that we did the groundbreaking with. Now, when they started operation, because the company is already in operation for over a month now. When they started operation and realized that in the process of mining lithium, they are able to get some other metals like nickel, like copper, all part of it. So they changed now the name of the company. So the company we commissioned is no longer Landmass Lithium Mining Company. It is actually Abatan Minerals Development Company. So because they are now able to say it is not only lithium they are getting other minerals. This is the kind of thing we were losing in Nigeria as a result of all this illegal mining, or some of them calling it artisan mining, and the rest of that, they give it some beautiful names. Any mining operation that is not going to give you some kind of processing to be able to take out what it is that you are doing, what minerals you are getting from there, and separating them with other minerals, then you can see we are losing a lot as a nation.
So, I mean, the issue of adding value to these raw materials is a major one for the country. Unfortunately, a lot of even the little export that we do is of raw materials. What are we getting from these companies? Are we getting, for instance, we know lithium at this point supposed to give batteries, rechargeable batteries for mobile phones, and all of that for electric vehicles. What are we getting from them? Is it just to mine the lithium, or are they adding value into a substance or product that can be used?
Okay, you see, lithium, before it gets to battery, there are 4 processes. Process number 1 is to even go and mine the material, from the ground. So that is a huge operation. In the past, that's what we have always had in Nigeria. People will just take the sand directly and export it. So now this company is carrying out the bigger operation. The bigger operation really is being able to produce the lithium concentrate. This is what they are doing. So they take the sand and they process the sand and be able to extract the concentrate of lithium. That is a major operation. There are lots of jobs that have been doing in that area. And as I told you, there is separation of the various minerals that you can clearly see and now identify this mineral and that mineral. And there is the aspect of technology that our people are now able to learn. When you go there and see the heavy equipment they installed, we now have our own local people that have been employed. At the mining site, they have 1,000 people. In the past, they didn't have anything like that. So it's revenue that is coming to the state, it's education that is coming to the people, and they are training the people. They actually took some of these technicians and the engineers to China to train them before they brought them to come and work for their factory. So that is on one hand. Now, the next one that you are seeing is whatever kind of CSR are they given? Or let me go back actually to the processes that I told you. Process number 1 to mine. Process number 2 to produce the condensate. Process number 3 is to produce what you call the carbonate. It is from the carbonate now that you can sell to companies like Tesla that make electric vehicles. You can sell to companies that make the batteries, and things like that, like the electronic companies and the rest of that. And you can sell also for the solar panels, the production. It is all from the carbonate, not from the concentrate. So now it takes you to the next one. So what do we do next? We have to attract other companies that will come into Nigeria to be able to do that. One of the greatest achievements we had that day for this company to be there, one of the biggest players in the industry, the chairman of CanMax Technologies is the biggest buyer of lithium concentrate worldwide. He visited, he was here. He was taken to see Mr. President. He was at the venue of the event. And because of his excitement, he announced additional $200 million investment for Nasarawa State that day. That's the attraction. That's what we are trying to achieve. You know, by him doing that, we can now begin to invest in the aspect of the production of the carbonates. Now, people are asking, why are you not producing all together? Why are you not doing this? Why? If you produce the carbonates today in Nigeria, who is going to buy it? We don't have the Teslas of the world. We don't have the companies that are actually making electric cars. We don't have the companies. So people in business, you know, don't do it just for the sake of doing it. They will do it for the sake of the business aspect of it. So it is gradual. You know, we have what we never had before. So we have stage one. The next is going to stage two. I'm telling you this way because all my life I come back from the private sector and I know how the private sector thinks. They are not just going to take your money and put into something that they know is going to be a problem for them. So those are the stages that we are talking about. So for us, I think the industrialization of even getting the first two stages, mining and production of the concentrate, we have achieved something. Next is to attract the companies like CanMax, you know, that was here during the event, and he promised Mr. President that he will come again. And by the way, the same owner of CanMax, you know, a guy called Mr. Pay. Mr. Pay is also the biggest shareholder, single shareholder in a company called CATL. CATL is the biggest battery producer in the world. It's based in China. They produce over 30% of the batteries that are produced worldwide. He's the biggest single shareholder after the Chinese government. You know, so we are now opening the state to begin to see what you can do. But you can't just jump from 0 to 100 overnight. You have to take it one step at a time and to get there. That's how the value chain is achieved.
All right, so certainly be following up that value chain. The other thing is we talk about ease of doing business in Nigeria, and you won't hear a lot of good news about that, especially when you look at the cost of electricity, or even the supply, apart from the cost, the availability of it. Now, the electricity law in Nigeria has been tweaked to allow state governments to be involved in both the production, the generation, and distribution. Is there steady electricity for these companies and even to attract the ones you're talking about?
Well, that is a challenge, and it's a challenge for Nigeria. And I can take another 1 hour and discuss that with you because I was a member of Division 2020 in the year 2009 when Nigeria was generating 6,000 megawatts of power. We are part of that committee that said by the year 2020, we'll be generating 50,000 megawatts of power. Today, we are generating less than what we generated in the year 2009. So that's a different subject altogether. Now, coming back to some of these companies, any company that wants to do serious business, you have to generate your own power today. This company that we just finished commissioning, they are actually generating their own power for now, you know, but eventually it is for us to generate power from gas. I work for the Dangote Group. You know, in the Dangote Group, in the Dangote Sugar Refinery, the company that I was the CEO, we were generating our power. In Obajana and Ibeshe, they are generating their own power. But then the conversion to start generating power through gas is one of the utilization that Nigeria is looking forward to. So, but if you are saying it is the national grid that a company has to rely upon in Nigeria today, then that company is not serious about production because you cannot. So even this company we commission right now, as I told you, they are generating about 20 megawatts of power captive. It is their own generation. It's not from the national grid. You know, so these are the realities, and these are some of the reasons why our cost of production in Nigeria is high. You know, so, but I mean, you don't have a second option. You know, you just have to do what you have to do.
But I mean, I know you're very big, Mr. Governor, on industrialization. Is the state, apart from, these companies generating them, is the state doing anything to maximize, the now opportunity that has been opened to states when it comes to generation and distribution of electricity?
Last week, you will see that I was with the Minister of Water Resources. When we came in, I visited a place called Farurua. Farurua is a waterfall in Wamba local government area. When I was informed about the prospects of power generation in the area, which started from the era of our first executive governor, Abdullahi Kefi, I visited the area. I came to realize some of the challenges the area was having. Number one was road. So we awarded the contract and constructed the road. It used to take close to 1.5 to 2 hours, to travel that 18 kilometers. So we constructed the road. Today we have the road. You go in less than 20 minutes. So federal government now awarded the contract for the construction of the dam. Since during the President Buhari's era, administration, they have not been able to complete it. Our aim as a state, and I think you will hear from the visit when I visited the minister last week, our aim is for us as a state to be able to actually generate hydropower. Even if it is going to be the 20 megawatts power, 20 megawatts is more than enough for Nasarawa State. Nasarawa State is not a fully industrialized state that will be looking for anything more than 20 megawatts. But when we came before generation, when we came in 2019, we realized that the 330 MV line came all the way to Lafayette, and it was not completed. So we worked very hard to ensure that that one also with the Niger Delta Development Power Holding Company, was also generated. So it was commissioned by President Buhari about 2 years ago. But it goes back to the same problem. It's been completed, but there is no enough power coming into it to supply also all the celebration, all the excitement, all the hard work is now retarded. Even though it's supposed to be a gas-powered line, and Nigeria should not have a problem with gas, because Nigeria is a gas country that has oil. It's not an oil country that has gas. It's the other way around. Yet we're having problem even generating power from gas turbines. But these are parts of the challenges, I think, that this administration is facing. So the country has lots of challenges, and power generation is one of them. And it shouldn't be, because if we can generate power hydro, we can generate power gas. But there is also solar power generation. But you see, all these things are there. But when you say the effort for Nasarawa State, the effort for us is to be able to generate 20 megawatts of power at the dam. But the dam has been, the contract has been given, yet it's not been completed.
A lot of hiccup right there. But, I mean, let's look at other states. We're drilling in on Nasarawa State. Of course, we have in every state in Nigeria, there is a potential. There's solid mineral, there's agriculture. You are a governor. Sometimes we on the other side are curious that why does it seem like governors or government, state governments, are not making use of the potentials they have in their states? They have agriculture. Before oil came to Nigeria, before governors could go to Abuja, for FARC every month, we were surviving and doing very well. Why does it look like the governors are not looking inwards?
Well, the governors are waking up. Let me put it to you that way. I was part of the meeting of the northern governors that we just had in Kaduna last week, and during the meeting, the week before last, and during the meeting, these are the same issues discussed. We took a lot of time discussing some of these issues. Why are we not taking that? Let even every state say that in the north, and that is very easy for any state in the north to say, we are going to clear 5,000 to 10,000 hectares of land, and we are going to plant whatever crop of your own choice and feed your people. With 10,000 hectares of land, you can easily employ anywhere between 15 to 20,000 people to work in the farm. And you can feed the state. You can export the food, whatever crop it is that you are doing. So those were the honest truth we told each other. Forget about the politics. Forget about saying, I am clearing 500 hectares. I'm clearing, there is no forget about that. Let's be honest and say, how much can you do? Pick it up from there. If it is solid minerals, how much can you do solid minerals? If it is, what do you call it, oil and gas, how much of the oil and gas are you participating? So these are the challenges. I think we faced them. Everybody came out excited. Whether the excitement would continue to hold or not, well, time will tell. But these are the realities, and that's what some of us in Nasarawa State are taking seriously. We're saying we cannot just be talking and talking and talking and then no results. We have to pick it up from here and say that we are going to achieve something, and this is the direction that we are going.
Yeah, well, as you said, that excitement, we do hope, because we've had these conversations year in, year out. But your summit starts in 2 days. You're gathering the world to talk about the economy of Nasarawa State. Should we expect deals to be signed? Like I've seen or heard of some summits where at the end there are deals that are signed that will be used for action after that, so it doesn't just end with conversations?
Thank you very much. It will definitely not involve conversations. And that's the reason why, in fact, I was making some notes when you are doing that, because I think for us, we have to be serious about that. For us in Nasarawa State, we had the same summit in the year 2022. So in the year 2022, we signed some agreements with some of the companies that were coming. Some of them didn't materialize, but some of them did. Let us start with the mining that I mentioned. With the mining, what we just finished and what we just finished discussing with you is as a result of the discussion that we had at the last summit when we invited them. Again, the company called Asgard lithium processing plant, which I told you I commissioned, that's a 400 metric tons capacity. That was as a result of that last event. There is a company called Greenview CNG. They are building a hub here in Lafayette, purely for CNG and LPG. We signed the agreement. It's been completed. We are going to commission that also this month. Then a company called Saro Africa. Saro Africa came and is going to be in the area of agriculture for them to produce ethanol. In fact, they funded part of the last summit we had because they were very interested in ensuring that they come into Nasarawa Stadium there. So they funded. And today, they are carrying out their sensitization, and they are paid. We have identified people that will be paid. So they are going to produce ethanol from sugarcane. So they are already present in Edo State. They are producing ethanol from cassava in Edo. They want to produce ethanol from sugarcane in Nasarawa State. And we signed that agreement with them. A company called ABG Gas is also setting up a conversion center. They are already in the construction aspect. And of course, you heard about the technology village, which was commissioned recently. That is in housing. So in housing, we have 2 major projects that we have signed with them, and they are also here. One of them is being done in phases, and that is the Nasarawa Technology Village, which is a PPP arrangement with the state government. It's a 100 hectares area, and they are building roughly about 4,000 houses closer to Abuja so that we can benefit from the insufficient housing in Abuja. So we have commissioned the first 300 houses, and they are now constructing another 1,000 houses that we are doing, and then the technology hub itself.
A whole lot there, Governor. A whole lot that you have there. Well, I guess I need to ask more, but time will tell when we see, the manifestation of all of that. And my sincere, heartfelt prayer is that other states' governments will be challenged and not allow Nasarawa State take all the revenue, but they'll also be challenged to take up some of these steps so that we see states generating revenue. I think that will really bring a lot of ease to the people.
You are invited to come and invest in Nasarawa State, especially in housing also. That will be nice.
All right, Engineer Abdullahi Sule, thank you so much, Executive Governor of Nasarawa State.
Thank you.
All right, now we just have less than a minute to go to give you the market numbers from last week. The Ultra Index closed in the red again. I suppose we should get used to this number at this time. We heard there how commercial lending to state governments has reduced because state governments are heading, governments generally, not state government. The government generally, the 3 tiers of government are heading to the fixed income market, making the yields attractive. And so we see investors leaving the NGX to the fixed income market. So last week, again, the NGX was down 1.36%. and still struggling around 55 trillion naira, 55.56 trillion naira is what we see. Even though the activity chart was in green, banking, the most liquid sector, was in red, 0.07%. Consumer goods as well, more than 1%. Industrial goods just managed to have that green color, 0.07%. Insurance, oil and gas closed in the red. We'll give you updates on the market numbers at 1 p.m. Ladi Williams will be here along with Aniete Edet. So you have a whole lot coming to you at 1 p.m. during Business Incorporated. I'm Mini John McQuarrie. Let's head back to the Sunrise Daily Studios.
All right, so here you see images of members of the Nigeria Labour Congress and their counterparts in Trade Union Congress picketing the headquarters of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, that is the NERC, in Abuja a moment ago. They were led by Joe Ajero, who is the president of Nigeria Labour Congress. The workers asking for an immediate reversal in the hike of the electricity tariff, as Nigerian workers, they say, can no longer cope with the increase due to the current state of the economy. Well, their counterparts in Kaduna also following suit, members of the Trade Union Congress and TUC today picketing the headquarters of, this time, Kaduna Electricity Distribution Company, located in the state capital. They're demanding the same thing, reversal of the tariff hike by NERC. So the labor unions are saying that that the TUC chairman, who we're going to hear him speak at the moment, also highlighting what they want them to do. There were placards there. They all converged there this morning. So let's have a listen to what he said.
To call the stakeholders on board to make meaningful decisions and way forward. But unilaterally, PHDN decided to hike the price of electricity in Nigeria. We say no to that, and we are rejecting in totality. We are saying that they should revert back to the normal price. Like my counterpart have said, we don't see any reason, any rationale in saying band A, band B, band C. Serve us with electricity. Let us flourish, do our businesses of ice blocks and so on and so forth. Welders, many artisans are there stranded. And then you are saying you are increasing the cost of electricity. We are saying no to it. We are calling upon the government to, as a matter of urgency, I said as a matter of urgency, revert back and let's go back to the round table. Our demands are revert back, let's go and sit down and agree on what to do. We see no reason why in Nigeria you buy transformer, you buy pole for your environment, for your house. They will take over the things that you buy. And then they will tell you to pay for electricity again. Well, that's cheating in Nigeria. We see no reason where our entity has been sold, and then government gave them about 3 years. When it was sold? When it was sold. What is the sum of transaction? We don't need it anymore. Comrades, this is just the beginning. We are going to go in our series of activities. This is the first one, picketing. We are hoping that government will do the needful before we get to the next stage of it. Comrades, let me not take much of your time. I want to thank all chairmen.
All right, so there you go. Labour just highlighting what their demands are. So here in the studios, we got Mr. Kingsley Odo, who is the Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Plantrix Energy Group. They deal with gas and power. But he's also been former SA on technical services, advising to the immediate past Minister of Power. Okay, and you also had a stint with the previous ones. You've been in and around, so that's why you're here, among several things, to explain some of the things that people will expect of the Ministry of Power to do. But let's get your broad perspective, first and foremost, about the electricity tariff hike. Although it does appear as though NERC has given, quotes, an inch, and so perhaps Labour would then want a mile. So what do you make of this entire scenario?
First, thank you very much, Chamberlain. Thank you, Mark, for having me. It's a challenge because I am on both sides of the divide. I see what the NLC people did, and I empathize with them. Trust me, because it's the reality of where we are as a nation. So if we backtrack a little, I think more of the concerns that are on the table today are issues of trust. Trust me, because if you go back a bit, you will see that the pricing for electricity had not been reviewed in a bit. And that's why I said it's a whole gamut of confusion, way back from the gas supplier all the way to the end consumer. There is distrust. And once you don't have trust, it becomes a big challenge. So the gas suppliers are owed about $2.3 billion, which is about 3.6 trillion.
By who?
By government or by the generators annexed by government, because government gives those guarantees. So the gas supplier is supposed to get paid. He's not paid. He's given some guarantees and he gives gas to the generator.
Sorry, before you, pardon me jumping. Is there subsidy in this sector?
There is subsidy in the sector. There is subsidy.
Oh.
There's been subsidy, which, as a matter of fact, the cumulative subsidy stands at about 3 trillion, if you like.
At what point is this subsidy?
So we'll break it down. So there is what you call embed. Embed is the middle tier who provides the buffer, if you like. Now embed says, look, I'll give you a guarantee. With this guarantee, always make sure you supply gas to the generator. The generator generates and then gives energy to transmission, and transmission wheels it and then to the distribution. Distribution says, okay, it gives it to the end customers, and then the monies don't come back. So energy goes downstream. Monies don't come upstream. Now, monies are supposed to come in the quantum of energy that's gone downstream, but that's not what happens.
So before those transactions happen,
yes,
where they give those guarantees,
yes,
they must have done the analysis to see how much will come back.
Oh, naturally,
and they're sure that it will come back.
Of course.
So why doesn't it come back?
Okay, because you see, downstream, there are all kinds of losses. So first, there's this transmission loss, and then there is the distribution loss, and then there's what you call the, ATC and C losses. So there's what you call the aggregated technical, commercial, and collection loss. Now, collection loss stands on its own. This A, T, C, and C is aggregated. That means there is technical loss, there is collection loss, and there is commercial loss. Now, collection loss means that I'm not able to collect all the monies for the energies that I've given you. And therefore, since I've given you energy, and there are lots of theft, bypass, all the things, as you go downstream, you're not able to collect all the money. So if I give you 100 naira, for example, of worth of an energy, what comes back from collection maybe is 40 naira. So I've lost about 60 naira. Now that money cannot be seen. Therefore, it won't go upstream. And if it doesn't go upstream, government has to find a way to make sure that that guy who supplies gas is paid. It means that my guarantee should cover for you, and also the generator is guaranteed as well. And because the generator is guaranteed, it means that if he's not paid, government would cover. And those are the kinds of subsidies that we have.
There are a few things there.
Yeah.
Technical loss, I mean, yes, that can happen. But collection loss,
yes,
to the degree that, because it was only recently that Asura paid their bills for a very long time. They hadn't paid. The same thing, government agencies, many of them don't pay. And this are part of what accumulates the collection loss.
Yes.
Of which government eventually now says, okay, we'll bridge this gap. So government has a huge role to play here if they ensure that all of those agencies live up to the billing. So if they were to fulfill their own billing, could you give us an idea to what percentage will it reduce this collection loss?
Not very significant. Because, yes. Because,
is that insignificant?
Yes, it is. In truth, well, it's a chunk. It's a chunk. But if you want to aggregate it vis-a-vis the spectrum of loss that we have, remember this is a huge community.
Yeah.
200 million people nationwide. It's a huge community. And for households, just imagine the quantum of losses that go on. Bypass here, some welder throws his wire in the night and does all of that. So you are not able to get that quantum of monies coming back upstream. And because of that, government tries to see, and government must see that upstream they are catered to. Why? Because if gas is not given to the generator, and by the way, 80% of our energy in this country comes from gas-fired plants. I just heard the governor of Nasarawa state saying, again, that's another discussion. If that does not come back upstream, the gas supplier is going to shut down. And if the generator does not have gas, let's leave the hydros for now. If the generators, gas-fired plants don't have gas, they shut down. I'm sure you heard of issues of gas to power, gas constraints. These are some of these bottlenecks that we've had because the challenges are always there. So government says, you know what, let me cover you with my paper, which is the guarantee. And then those guarantees are now paid for at intervals. I'm sure you heard of 701, 601, those interventions that government gave. Why? Because the generator was going to shut down.
So yes, we have seen those interventions, and even though it still baffles me that a government that gives guarantees cannot pay its own bills. It is embarrassing. I mean, when you think about the fact that ministries, departments, and agencies are owing electricity bills, that's certainly, and on the one hand, government is saying we're giving intervention.
And we're paying for that now.
You know, so I don't know whether there's been any thinking in that direction first, but let's take a look at some, because technical losses, some people will say it should be accounted for in the sense that whenever there's generation, there should be an estimate of how much of that electricity will be lost in the process of, I mean, so that should be accounted for and already taken into cognizance with the price that we're currently seeing. I mean, the price that is in the market. We should know what it is that should be sent out, you know, what it is that we get on an average, and, you know, what exactly is technical losses. So I'm wondering, from what we're seeing right now, yes, Labour is protesting and they're unhappy with the new increment. Do you think that this has really been thought through, the increment as imposed on consumers? Because they'll say, oh, the conversation happened last year. It's just been implemented this year. Well, a lot of consumers, as far as they're concerned, there was no conversation.
Mark, believe me, the question is very valid. And in the opening of our conversation, I said that the real issue here has been issues of trust. Maybe the information dissemination mechanism is challenging. But so I answered the Chamberlain that there's been subsidy. And so this subsidy has accumulated over time. And it is there. It's humongous. It's frightening. And so government says, well, I'm not on the side of government, but government says, look, we cannot cope. We can't even pay for this. Therefore, there are premium guys who enjoy electricity. So we call them, for lack of better words, Band A people, right? Band A people are highbrow people. Maitama, Lekki, Ikoyi, and all of this bunch of people. So what I understand government saying is there are two levels of tariffs. There is what you call the cost-reflective tariffs and the service-reflective tariffs. So cost-reflective means that I'm able to aggregate all my costs and put it in a bucket, and I say, if these are my costs, what will I need to run a proper business? I mean, and still make profit. So those costs have been aggregated, and it sits in the neighborhood of about maybe from 160 naira per kilowatt hour to about 225 naira per kilowatt hour, as the case may be.
So they're charging maximum for Band A.
So government says, let's experiment with this. Let's even have those guys who can pay, who really can pay. Let them enjoy 20 hours. So it becomes a service-reflective tariff. Means that I'm giving you 20 hours of electricity. However, with this, you would pay this premium pricing, if you agree. So that's why I said, Mark, that the real issue has been sitting down with Labour to say, look, this doesn't affect any person, because any person from Band B to Band E. The truth is, if this movements don't happen, the sector might just collapse. It means that if some kinds of subsidy, we're still sitting at close to 1.6 trillion, even with this. But an experiment that says, can this really work? Maybe if people enjoy more power, have good electricity that runs for 20 hours, then maybe it will be exciting.
It goes back to the question you started out with, the word trust.
I agree.
Because when they say cost-reflective tariff, any business has to do that to ensure that you stay afloat and not go under. The service-reflective one, challenges. Because what about the charter of service? When if you don't do certain things, you don't bill them for that. So all of those areas are where people just sit and say, this is unacceptable.
True.
You put me in a certain band, I'm not even getting anything. And then you're still billing those kind of people. And then they give, they say, how long is it? 7 days before what they move you to band B if you don't get the supply for A. That's businesses that they cancel. There are several that won't last for that 7 days, which you speak about.
You know, it's quite challenging. Again, I sit from outside of this and I see end to end of the spectrum. Trust me, I see everything. So I see that what government, NERC and all those agencies should have done is engaged with relevant bodies like NLC, TUC, and say, listen, this is what would happen. It has to happen. Because when the figures are shown, it becomes quite clear that these steps must happen. If not, there will be disaster. Now, what do we want, chicken or egg? Because sometimes we ask these questions, is it chicken, is it egg, which one? But I think that with clear understanding of saying, these are the bunch of people who can really pay. They buy SUVs, they do all kinds of things. Now, please forgive me, I am not saying that, hey, because you have bought an SUV, therefore. But I'm saying that you live in the premium, prime, exclusive area of the city. And for that, it's a little, and it's an experiment. It might just work. It means that if people really can pay and get the service. So there are two things. One is ability to pay, and the second one is, am I getting the service? If I'm not getting the service, then you have mechanisms, dispute resolution mechanisms that you could explore. However, but if I'm getting the service, is it really working? If it is, then government will be inching towards sanitizing the sector.
You know, part of the challenge where it might have been well-intended, but when you say that, it just comes across as though those who were carrying on that experiment suddenly thought that whoever they're putting in Band A are no longer in Nigeria, where the, whichever DC comes to you, they still tell you you have to go buy your transformer, you have to go buy this. All of those challenges, inefficiencies are still there, even in the so-called Band A group.
Yes, family.
They're not fixed.
I agree.
And then you're still billing these people this same amount of money. So, it just doesn't make sense.
Challenging is a challenge, like I said. So let me tell you, you know, these things have come over time. It's a build-up, right? Over time, there's been indiscipline in the sector, and let's be honest, there's been all kinds of things. Monies have gone down, it didn't do what they're supposed to do. Of course, you are in Nigeria, all kinds of misplaced priorities by agencies of government and all of that. But there comes a time where we need to be able to reset and say, look, let's tell ourselves the truth. If we draw the line from this point and say, and from here, let us begin to have some sanity in the sector. The unbundling of TCN is one good step in the right direction. That's a discussion for another day. But I'm saying, if we begin to say, look, all agencies of government and plus labor unions and organizations, let's sit down and say, look, there comes a time where there must be some sanity. Let's draw the line here. There are historical challenges. We all know that. There are all kinds of things. People have taken people's monies. Transformer is bought by some individuals in some communities. The discos take them over. These historical things have built a lot of mistrust. However, for us to reset the sector, we must be able to draw the line and say,
so Band A people are the one who will pay for all of this.
It's an experiment that...
You can't experiment people who are working hard for their money.
It's
this is realistic. This is real life. It's not a reality
TV. It's the
TV.
cost of energy. Now, energy is like tomato it's like bread. You go to the shop.
Yeah, since they know that, then fix your in-house policies. Fix whatever is wrong in-house before you come out to the public.
So I would say that, don't forget that before now, there had been all kinds of agitations for a broad spectrum of review, which everybody resisted. I mean, I understand that. So they went to the both upper and lower houses. It was turned down. No, this is a no-no. It can't happen. And so the conversation is, okay, at what stage can we begin to change a few things? That's why I said, you know, when you look at the spectrum, you say, okay, a bunch of people can really pay. I mean, let's be honest. It's the cost of energy. And remember, it's not that it is wrong pricing. It is the right pricing for energy.
It's almost like a crime now because people can pay. So
no.
Pay for everything, whatever happens, as long as you can pay.
I believe, Chamberlain, that government must intervene, and all over the world. Okay. Sectors like power or electricity, water, transport, and all of these sectors, government must put an eye, even though they say it is no longer government, but it's still government because these are essentials.
Ayo.
No, it seems like, I mean, that historical issues that you raised is what brought us here, and one wonders whether or not we're going to escape it in any time, you know, within the shortest possible time. Two twin issues that I'd like you to quickly speak to is one thing you stated earlier, which is that of awareness. I mean, talking to the stakeholders is one thing. We're engaging people, creating enough awareness before making any form of pronouncement. That's another kettle of fish altogether. So the issue of awareness is still there, still hanging. The second is that of sabotage. There have been allegations of sabotage of the power sector over the years. So from your experience, is there any semblance of truth to the issue of claims or belief or allegations of sabotage by some forces wherever?
Thank you very much. To answer your first question is, I believe that the Ministry of Information and all those national orientation agencies, whatever they call, so those organs must be seen to really begin to work very hard. Because once truth is known and it is understood, the approach and the conversation will be a little bit different than if when you just come out but I believe that NERC hopefully should have gone round and then also made people understand that this is where we are. This must happen for the sector to even have some level of fresh air. If not, it would collapse. And a collapse is not what we desire at this point. It's how do all of us put hands on this deck and make it happen? One of the ways is what they have done. So, Chamberlain, Ayo, I agree with you totally that the information dissemination mechanism needs to be worked on and must, for every anticipated change, there has to be fireworks of all of these things to make it happen so that when it's happening, everybody is on board. That's one. You talked about sabotage. Again, we're all in a country, off records, we're talking here, we said, you have to be a Nigerian to be here. It's a very, very difficult place to be in, and that's the truth. However, we must separate criminality from all of these things. There are even criminals in civil service, okay? And there are lots of people who just go there to maybe enrich themselves. And government must put processes in place to truly make sure that the criminals pay for it. And so if you go downstream, especially transmission infrastructure nationwide, where that's where the real sabotage is, because some remote areas, some towers in some place, nobody's there, no monitoring, you know, and then those towers go down. It causes a backlash. The system trips because of that vandalization happening in some remote location. It's a huge problem. However, it can be dealt with one step at a time. Sabotage is real, even within the government or and outside of the government, or even orchestrated from within. But we must separate criminality and begin to deal with all of these things. We can't fix it today, but we just keep moving in the right direction.
What we've been trying to do for the past 60 years.
You know, sincerity of purpose is critical, and that's why I said to government that, look, put best materials in the places where you know.
Okay, so that hits it on the head then.
Yes.
What do ministers of power even do? You know, that's it. You were, in fact, that's where you were. What do they do? Why?
I have a different question. It would be like this: if we actually had somebody in the right place at the right time and wouldn't really knew what to do, how long do you think it would take that person to fix the sector?
Okay, one person cannot fix, but good question, Malcolm. So you have one person who understands what he's trying to do and has a clear roadmap, right? And he has a clear agenda, and then he brings the right people, because your ability to put the right people in those places so that you are communicating the same thing downstream becomes critical. How long it will take to fix? We can put it, trust me, we can say we can get to 10 gigawatts in 5 years. It's not a tall dream.
Gigawatts?
Yes, which is 10,000 megawatts.
Oh, in 5 years.
It's possible. It means that, but let's listen. If we get, today we sit at about between 5,000, 4,000, 3,000.
Is that the transmission capacity?
No, it's what is willed to the end customer, or rather to the
But it's what we get that we
So the point, therefore, is if we even give ourselves 10 gigawatts and say by this 2024, by 2029, we should hit 10 gigawatts. It means that all things work together to make it happen, from distribution, transmission, generation, the gas supplier, and all of these bodies that play active roles in the power sector, or who are what I call critical stakeholders. They are able to focus on that 10 gigawatts. So everything works towards 10 gigawatts. If I have a misfit here, I yank him off quickly. If I have somebody who is, and I just begin to work, it might just turn out well. 10 gigawatts is a huge...
Yeah, just
you heard the governor saying 20 megawatts will solve his own problem.
It's just
That's another matter.
It's just that over the years, all things have never worked together. So, but this is a conversation that we'll try and have at another date, because there's so many components to this matter. But we'll have to thank you for coming on, because we need to anchor at this point. King Odo is the GMD and CEO of Plantrix Energy Group. They deal with gas and power. He's also former SA to the former Minister of Power, amongst other things. So thank you for coming on today.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you so much.
Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next time. I'm Chamberlain, so goodbye.
Thank you. I'm Malpe Ogun Yusuf. Have a lovely day.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a productive day ahead of you.